My name is Isa Whitmore. I'm 34 years old, and until 5 weeks ago, I truly believed I was in a serious, grown-up relationship, one that was slowly, naturally moving toward marriage, not rushed, not dramatic, just steady. I thought that meant something. I was wrong. The moment everything cracked didn't arrive with shouting or slammed doors. There was no explosion, no obvious before and after line anyone else could point to. It happened quietly, so quietly that, for a moment, I wondered if I was imagining it. It happened the second my boyfriend leaned back in his chair at that restaurant, glanced down at the ring I'd saved for months to buy him, and rolled his eyes. Not in anger. Not in shock. In dismissal. That small, careless gesture split something open inside me. I felt it immediately, like a fracture under the skin. But I smiled. I stayed still. I told myself I was being dramatic. I wasn't. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start where I should have started paying attention. Ethan and I had been together for 3 years. We'd lived together for one of those years, long enough that friends stopped asking if we'd get engaged and started asking when, long enough that holidays blended, routines merge, and our lives were labeled as a single unit by everyone around us. We met through mutual friends at a dinner party. I remember noticing how easily he filled the room. He didn't need to be loud to be noticed. He spoke with certainty, with confidence, like his life already had direction and momentum. He worked in a competitive field, dressed well without trying too hard, knew how to make people listen. I was drawn to that energy. I won't pretend otherwise. At the time, it felt grounding, like being near someone who knew where they were going. The first year was easy, effortless, even. We laughed a lot. We traveled on weekends. We stayed in bed on Sundays and ordered food we couldn't pronounce. I felt safe. The second year shifted, but subtly. So subtly that I didn't see it for what it was. Ethan started noticing things. My car. My apartment. My pace. Not cruelly. Not outright. Just comments delivered casually. Like observations instead of judgments. Don't you think you'd be further along by now? My coworker just bought a place downtown. Crazy what ambition can do. I brushed it off. Everyone compares. Everyone slips. I told myself he was just ambitious. Just driven. Just pushing me to be better. By the third year, though, the comments weren't occasional anymore. They were constant. They were habits. He'd scroll through Instagram beside me on the couch and stop at engagement photos. His friends' girlfriends holding up massive stones. Destination proposals. Champagne cliffs. Drone footage circling couples like they were cinematic events instead of people. Must be nice, he'd say. Not jealous. Not angry. Just measuring. Still, I loved him, or at least, I loved the version of us I believed in, the future I thought we were quietly building, so I planned the proposal. Nothing extravagant, just meaningful. The restaurant where we'd had our first date, a Friday night, soft lighting, a white gold band with a 1-carat diamond, classic, elegant, timeless. It cost me almost $8,000, more than I'd ever spent on anything that wasn't rent. I saved for months. I skipped trips. I said no to things I wanted. Because I wanted him to feel chosen. Dinner went well. Too well. Maybe. I was nervous, rehearsing the words in my head while nodding at his stories. When dessert arrived, my heart started racing. My hands shook as I stood, reached into my jacket, and pulled out the velvet box. I knelt down right there, between our table and the window. Ethan, I said, my voice trembling despite myself, I love you. I want to spend my life with you. Will you marry me? I opened the box. He stared at the ring. No smile. No tears. No spark. Then he laughed. Not warmly, not kindly, a sharp, disbelieving laugh that made nearby conversations falter. He glanced around, noticed people watching, and said, "Are you serious right now?" I stayed on one knee. Yes. He crossed his arms. Get up. You're making a scene. I stood slowly, closed the box, and sat back down, my face burning. What's wrong? I asked. He rolled his eyes, fully rolled them. That ring, he said. Where did you even get that? I saved for it, I said quietly. I thought you'd like it. He laughed again. It's tiny. It's embarrassing. It's 1 carat, I said. It's quality. 1 carat, he scoffed. My coworker just got engaged. 3 carats. Platinum band. That's a ring. I did the best I could. You thought wrong. He grabbed his jacket. Give this ring to someone at your level, he said. I'm not wearing it. The restaurant went silent. And just like that, he walked out, leaving me sitting there, holding a ring I'd bought for a future that had evaporated in public. I paid the bill, drove home, sat on the couch all night with the box in my hands, staring at something that felt heavier than it should have. The next morning, I texted him, we need to talk. 3 hours later, I'm staying with a friend. I need space. That's when I realized something I wasn't ready to accept yet. He wasn't rejecting the ring. He was rejecting me. The apartment felt different without him, not emptier, just quieter. So quiet it amplified everything. The fridge humming, the clock ticking, that sentence echoing in my head. Give this ring to someone at your level. Ethan stayed gone for 4 days. No calls, no apologies, just one message on the second day. I need time to think. Time to think about what? Whether I was worth the inconvenience of loving. Those 4 days cleared something inside me. Without his presence to soften his words or distract me with routine, memories rearranged themselves. The comments weren't jokes. The comparisons weren't harmless. The dissatisfaction wasn't temporary. He didn't love me. He loved the version of me he thought I should become. When he came back for his things, moving efficiently with a friend like it had already been planned, something inside me detached. When he suggested a break, when he expected me to fight, I didn't. Because the truth had already landed. That night, I opened the ring box again and really looked at it. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't oversized, but it was solid, timeless, beautiful. I looked up the return policy. 30 days. I could have taken the money back and erased it all. Instead, I called the jeweler. I have a ring, I said, and I want to change how it looks. When I hung up, my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from clarity. For the first time since that restaurant, I felt in control. And I didn't yet know how much that would change everything, but I knew one thing for certain. I was done shrinking myself to fit someone else's idea of value. Because he couldn't. There was nothing left he could say that wouldn't sound hollow now. He wiped his face with the back of his hand, nodded like someone accepting a verdict, and left a few minutes later. His shoulders were hunched, his steps uneven, like a man who had finally realized that the door he slammed in anger hadn't bounced back open. It had locked behind him. I stood there long after the sound of his footsteps disappeared down the hallway. I waited for something, relief, triumph, devastation. What I felt instead was quiet, not peace exactly, just stillness. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. A week later, my phone rang while I was folding laundry. The number was unfamiliar, but something in my chest tightened before I answered. I already knew this wasn't coincidence. Hi, Isa, the woman said gently. I recognized her voice immediately. The jeweler, the one who had helped me redesign the ring. I just wanted to give you a heads up. My fingers stilled around a t-shirt. About what? She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. Someone came into the store today asking about a ring. She described the one you had us redesign, very specifically. She said she was your fiancé and wanted to know how much it cost. A chill slid down my spine, slow and unmistakable. What did you tell her? Nothing, she said quickly. We don't share client information under any circumstances. But she was persistent, aggressive. Actually, she kept insisting she had a right to know. We thought you deserved a warning. After I hung up, I stood there staring at the wall, the folded laundry forgotten at my feet. I didn't need time to guess what this was about. It wasn't love, it wasn't regret, and it definitely wasn't concern for me. It was math. Ethan wasn't trying to win me back because he missed me. He wasn't heartbroken over losing us. He was trying to calculate something, trying to figure out whether I had suddenly crossed some invisible threshold in his mind, whether I had become valuable enough to reconsider. That evening, my phone buzzed. Ethan, I know you just redesigned it. You didn't buy a new ring. You're playing games. I stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. Me, does it matter? The reply came instantly. Ethan, yes. You made me think you had money all along and just didn't want to spend it on me. I laughed out loud in my empty kitchen, an incredulous sound that startled even me. Me, I spent $8,000 on you. It wasn't enough. No response. 2 days passed. Silence again. Then, on a quiet Tuesday evening, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, Ethan stood there, but this time, he didn't look angry or arrogant or defensive. He looked broken. His hands were shaking, and clutched in his fingers was a small velvet box, the familiar one, the original. Someone returned this to me, he said, voice thin and uneven, at work, in front of everyone. My stomach dropped. I took the box from him and opened it slowly. Inside was the ring I had given him, the 1-carat diamond, simple and classic, the ring I'd chosen with love, not competition. Where did you get this? I asked sharply. He swallowed. Your friend, the one I've been staying with. His voice cracked. He walked right up to my desk and handed it to me, didn't even sit down. Ethan's hands twisted together. He said, you wanted me to have it, said, you deserved to see what you threw away. I hadn't told anyone to do that, but whoever had made that decision understood something perfectly. Ethan lifted his eyes to mine, desperate. He also said something else. He whispered. He said you're seeing someone. Someone who appreciated the redesigned ring. Someone who said yes. I didn't answer. I let the silence stretch until it became unbearable. His breathing grew faster. Is it true? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. Are you really with someone else? I stepped closer, took the box from his trembling hands, and said the one sentence that shattered the illusion he was still clinging to. That's what you're focused on? I asked quietly. Not that you hurt me. Not that you humiliated me. Just whether I've moved on. His mouth opened, closed. Tears slipped down his face. I just need to know, he said. No, I replied. You need to leave. He stood there another second, like his body refused to obey. Then he turned and walked away. The door closed softly behind him. And still, I was wrong to think it was over. 3 weeks passed. No texts, no visits, no unexpected messages from borrowed numbers. I started to breathe again. I let myself believe the silence meant acceptance. Then the calls began. Not from Ethan, from people I hadn't spoken to in months. Hey, are you okay? I heard some things and wanted to check in. Their voices all carried the same careful hesitation, like they were afraid of stepping on something sharp. Finally, one of them said it plainly. He's telling people you're stalking him. The room went cold. What? He's saying you've been showing up at his work, that you're sending threatening messages, that he's scared of you. I laughed once, sharp, disbelieving. That's insane. I know, she said quickly, but not everyone does. That was the moment something inside me hardened. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was reputation, safety, control. I called a lawyer that same day, a friend who had recently passed the bar and happened to be relentlessly thorough. Document everything, he said. Texts, call logs, screenshots, the ring post. Get a statement from the jeweler about him harassing them for information. He's trying to control the narrative, he added. If he can't be the victim privately, he'll become one publicly. 2 days later, my phone rang again. This time, it was his mother. Isa, she said gently, can we meet for coffee? We met the next afternoon. She looked exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept well in weeks. I'm sorry, she said before I even sat down, for what he did, at the restaurant. My chest tightened. I raised him better than that, she continued, or at least I thought I did. Somewhere along the way, appearances became more important to him than people. She leaned forward. I need to warn you. He's not handling this well. He drove by your apartment twice, she admitted softly. My stomach sank. She pulled an envelope from her bag and slid it across the table. It's not right that you paid the price for his cruelty, she said. Please take it. Inside was a check for $8,000. For the first time in weeks, something inside me unclenched. 2 months later, I stood in the jewelry store for the final time. The redesigned ring sat between the clerk and me, dramatic and oversized. I'd like to return it, I said. When I walked out, the ring was no longer my burden. Neither was he. I booked a trip, 3 weeks, Europe, alone. Ethan sent one final message through a friend's phone. I hope you're happy. I didn't reply. Because I was. He told me to give the ring to someone at my level. So I did. I gave it back, got my money back, and invested in myself. And that was the smartest commitment I've ever made.